For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cohen, thank you for being here. In your responses to Ms. Blackburn, you indicated that many Americans have better plans at a lower cost. Do you recall indicating that to her?
Yes.
Under oath and in your sworn
Yes, many Americans have better health coverage than what they had before, and it's costing them less. I think I mentioned at least one of them, in my oral testimony.
Yes, you did. You actually mentioned a couple, one of them from my district, and I understand that. Also, you would have to acknowledge, under oath, that many Americans have lesser coverage at a greater cost. Isn't that true?
No, that's not what I said. What I said was...
That isn't what you said. I'm asking, yes or no? I'm asking you a question under oath.
I don't believe...
You know that many Americans have lesser coverage under the Affordable Care Act at a greater cost than they had before. Isn't that true?
No, I don't know that.
You don't know that. Well, let me tell you, I received an email today from a constituent of mine who I know very well. His premiums in March are going to triple, and his deductible is doubling. That's lesser coverage at a greater cost. So there's one. I will tell you that I have received numerous communications from members of my district, people who live in my district, along those lines. And yes, there are some winners, but there are also many losers. And it shocks me that you cannot acknowledge that here today when you're testifying under oath in front of this committee. There are losers under Obamacare, aren't there?
Can I answer?
Well, it's a yes or no. You know that there are losers under Obamacare, do you not?
If I'm not allowed to answer, then
the answer is either yes, you know that there are losers, or no, you don't know that there are losers. It's a yes or no, sir.
Will the gentleman yield?
I will not yield. The witness is not being
I think you need to define losers.
A loser is one who has to pay more for coverage that's lesser. And I just gave him an example, but he won't acknowledge that he knows of anybody in the United... Do you know of anybody in the United States in that circumstance, sir?
I'm sure
yes or no?
I'm sure there is anybody in the United States in that circumstance, yes.
And do you acknowledge that you have, just as you read the reports on other people who have had some successes who are winners under this, you've also read reports in the media of people who are losers under Obamacare, have you not?
The problem that I have, Congressman, is that I don't know what all of the options that might be available to that person. So it's difficult for me to answer without knowing the full situation of what might be available to that person. I understand that there are people who had coverage and received a notification from their insurance company that they were being put into a different plan that cost more. Absolutely, that's happened.
And you have reason to believe that those people are paying more and receiving a lesser coverage.
Well, but I don't know the details of what the plan is that they were in, what the details of the plan is that they were being offered, and I don't know the details of what other plans might be available to them that might enable them to avoid that situation. So I think it's a little bit more complex than you're presenting it to me, and you're not. That's all.
Well. And I would submit that it's more complex on all of these situations because we have a 2,000-some page bill that's very hard for people to get their arms around, and it's very hard for this administration apparently to operate and to run. That being said, let's talk about the shop exchanges for small businesses. That is another part of the plan that has been delayed for a year. Is that correct?
The online capability for shop is delayed for a year, yes.
And many of the other delays were for a few weeks or months. Why was this program delayed for a year?
Given everything that we needed to do to get the system working well for people in the individual market, we made a decision that in terms of allocation of resources, we couldn't get the shop online functionality built in time for this year. And so we are relying on the traditional agents and brokers who historically have always been the way that small.
It was a complicated situation that you had your hard time getting your arms around, and maybe if you sat down and learned all the aspects of it, you could advise on.
No, we had to make a choice. We had to decide what to devote our resources to.
I was being sarcastic. I apologize.
know you were.
Here's my problem, and this happens so often with this. The delay was announced the day before Thanksgiving, wasn't it?
I believe you. I don't remember, but I believe you.
Do you know if there were conversations before that day before Thanksgiving announcement? How long in advance was the decision made to delay the shop plan?
I'm sure that there were conversations before it was announced. I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly, when, but I know that into November there were conversations, and then when a decision was made, and then it was announced.
You know, there's a great concern for a lot of us that a lot of these announcements come. We've even made comments in other hearings that these announcements come at holidays so that people will be doing other things and won't pay attention to the fact that there's yet been another delay, another failure in the rollout of this program. Do you agree that that's not an appropriate way to run the operation, and that it really ought to be coming out when people can know what's going on instead of during the holiday time when nobody's paying attention?
Well, I would agree with you that it's very important that we put out accurate information so that people can understand what's happening with the program, yes.
Gentleman's time expired. Now recognize Mr. Tonko for 5 minutes.